Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Eureka Next podcast, where we bring insight and inspiration to the next generation of innovators and entrepreneurs. Today with me on the show, I have Dr. Kyriacos Athanasiou. Dr. Athanasiou is a Cypriot-American biomedical engineer who has pioneered and contributed significantly to biomedical academic advancements, high-tech industries, research, especially regarding tissue engineering and medical technology. He is currently a distinguished professor at the University of California, Irvine. He has published hundreds of cutting-edge scientific articles detailing structure-function relationships and tissue engineering approaches for articular cartilage, the knee meniscus, and the jaw joints. Dr. Athanasiou has made many new discoveries in the medical world, and among many other accomplishments, his research had led athletes with damaged knee joints to not need to contemplate new careers. Dr. Athanasiou was also the former president of the Biomedical Engineering Society, and among many honors, he is a member of the National Academy of Inventors. Dr. Athanasiou, thank you so much for making the time to be on the show today.
Thank you, Nick. I appreciate the opportunity to be here with you.
So the first question I have for you is, what drove/motivated you to pursue your passion, and how did you know you wanted to keep with that passion in your career?
Well, that's an excellent question. It's an excellent question because, to be honest with you, when I embarked on my career, I had no idea, what I wanted to do. At the beginning, I had no idea what career passion I would have. So in so many ways, I'm here via, I guess, serendipity. Let me start from the beginning, if you would. I guess the underlying passion that I had was to avoid being a house painter. You're gonna say, house painter, what do you mean by that? Well, I grew up in an environment where a paradoxical situation was taking place. My entire family consisted of uneducated, blue-collar people. Yet there was a passion, a palpable passion for education. I was always a good student. But that environment where I had no guidance basically from my parents did not really allow me to develop a particular direction, a clear direction as to what I wanted to do. All I wanted to do was not to be a blue-collar guy. So I wanted to educate myself. I wanted to pursue my studies. And I still hear my dad's, my late father's words that education is always the key out. I have, of course, this desire, this intrinsic desire to go as high as possible with my academic studies. So once I finished my PhD studies at Columbia University in the late 80s, in 89, I became a faculty member at the University of Texas. By then, my passion, what I was hooked on, was an aristevin. Of course, that's an ancient Greek saying that means always in pursuit of excellence, right?
Always achieve higher, yeah.
Always achieve higher. So what has been driving me through all these years is the concept of aristevin, of pursuing excellence. Not one particular realm of scientific inquiry. I think I could do well in different areas, but my underlying passion throughout all of that, what marked everything that I've done and I'm doing in my life, is this always, this pursuit of achieving the best that I can possibly can. So, and aristevin, that has been my passion, Nick.
Yeah, that's actually really inspiring that your passion has been to just constantly just to push the envelope a little farther. You can always keep going, always keep trying harder. I think that's really, really great motivation. Thank you.
Thank you.
So, knowing what you know now, what would you tell your 18-year-old self?
Well, that's an excellent question. Well, knowing what I know now, what would I tell to any 18-year-old, including myself in those days? I would say, listen to your parents and adult mentors, but especially your parents. Let me explain to you why. You may think you're a mature adult at the age of 18, because legally, most of the privileges are given and responsibilities are required. when you turn 18. The government thinks that you're mature if they allow you to drive, right? Move out of your parents' home, go to war. However, you're not mature when you're 18. The parts of the brain that are critical in decision making are not fully developed until age 25. At 18, you're about halfway through this process, in terms of development of this so-called prefrontal cortex. So your decision-making process, you're only halfway through at the age of 18. Mm-hmm. You have to wait until you become, 25. So this prefrontal cortex is the part of the brain that helps you to inhibit your impulses, to plan, to organize your behavior toward reaching a goal. So listen to the people who are on your team, who are fully rooting for you, especially your parents, because indeed your parents know much more and much better.
Yeah, that's very insightful. Thank you very much. Well, it's definitely some advice I need to use for my personal life. So if you could have a discussion with anyone in the world, living or dead, who would that be?
Anyone living or dead?
Anyone
in the world. Well, that would have to be the great philosopher Aristotle. Mm-hmm. It would have to be Aristotle. In my opinion, Aristotle was a complete scientist who set up his inquiries based on, on a holistic view of the world, holistic view and how everything interacts, surroundings, world, mind, and body. He was a true polymath, right? Who studied everything. He knew about everything, who truly embodied the ultimate seeker of knowledge. So hopefully Aristotle and I would partake in a symposium, with the wine and everything, right?
Right.
And I would ask him about one particular concept, and I would spend a lot of time on that particular concept, the concept of eudaimonia, this pursuit of happiness, which, as you know, this is a cornerstone of our Constitution, right?
Mm-hmm.
Pursuit of happiness, right? Our own Constitution, in that regard, originated from the concept of eudaimonia from Aristotle. JFK, President Kennedy referred to the concept of eudaimonia, and that is the secret of life. So I think Aristotle gave the best description of eudaimonia, this pursuit of happiness. He said, happiness, eudaimonia, this concept is when you reach the end of your life and you're in old age, you're surrounded by your loved ones, the ones that you inspired and guided to levels higher than yours, and thinking, I have offered to the society, I have done well, and I have done good. Mm-hmm. That's what I would do with Aristotle.
Very good answer. Yeah, that's it's crazy to think that he's one of the only people in the world to know so much about each topic. Like studying in school, he shows up in literature class, he shows up in physics, he shows up in chemistry. He's just every class. It's very abundant. So thank you for your insight.
Absolutely.
So being a biomedical engineer, are there any other scientists that inspired you with your endeavors?
Not really. Each scientific person who achieves something in their careers, I think each person develops their own approach, their own style, and I think I have my own style, my own approach. I cannot really refer to a particular individual in this scientific field who perhaps has inspired me, but I can think of it's amazing what the effect that teachers can have on kids. I still remember my 10th grade math teacher when I was growing up in Larnaca, Cyprus. His name was Mr. Hadzidas. Mr. Hadzidas was absolutely relentless and passionate about any math problem that he would encounter. His excitement was contagious. he made math look really, really cool. You know, he got me excited about always seeking solutions, always digging further and further when it comes to science. But that's not so much about medical engineering inspiration, if you would, but it's an inspiration towards science that he instilled on me at such a young age.
Yeah, that's crazy. What is something you're especially proud of in your career?
Well, in my career, you know, as I think you mentioned at the beginning, you know, my group and I have been involved with a lot of things. In addition to the traditional academics, academic achievements, such as, you know, research grants and papers, etc. I mean, you know, I have published, you know, close to 800 scientific publications in general, papers, abstracts, conference proceedings, patents, etc. In addition to those and all these grants that we have received, I'm very proud of the fact that I have been very keen in translating a lot of these technologies to actual clinical medical use. So I'm particularly proud of a few of those translations, if you would. I have started, you know, 5 different companies over the years. Based on my patents, there are 15 FDA-approved products out there. But there are a couple of these things that really stand out. One of them is we were the first people to come up with a patent and eventually a product to be able to deliver drugs in a patient through the bone. So you know, frequently, you know, so we deliver drugs through veins, right?
Right.
But many people, the doctor cannot find access through their veins to deliver drugs. People who are in shock, people who, you know, who are in the battlefield and they're injured, motor vehicle accidents and all that, they go into shock, into medical shock. In such a case, their veins collapse, they close, so you cannot get drugs, you know, in them.
Right.
So we came up with a very simple concept that said that, you know, if we cannot go through the vein, how about if we go through the bone and deliver the drugs? And even if we can do that, though, would those drugs reach their destination? It turns out, you know, we did a lot of work in that area, and we showed that indeed we could deliver drugs through the bone, and they could, say, revive someone who's dying.
Right.
That patent, I used that to found a company which eventually was acquired by a very large, you know, medical company. The product, indeed became a product, and it is used throughout the world in every emergency room, every ambulance, every emergency care provider has access to that product. It's called the EZ-IO, so for delivery of, you know, of drugs through the bone. The product has been used, actually originally was used by the U.S. Armed Services in Iraq and Afghanistan very successfully, saved thousands of lives. So I'm very proud of that. But I'm also very, very proud of our emerging work, which is after so many years, after decades of work in cartilage regeneration, like you said at the beginning, cartilage tissue engineering, we're now at a position to engineer, to make entire pieces of cartilage in the laboratory, live, biological pieces of cartilage that not only look like the real thing, they behave like the real thing. And I'm very, very excited about that work, because that work can address cartilage issues which really afflict 1/4 of our population. Think about it. 1 in 4 people has cartilage issues. So we developed a way to regenerate, to repair cartilage, and address issues like, you know, degeneration of joints, such as arthritis, you know, diseases that are up to this point, you know, have no solution. So I'm very excited about that work, and we're working very diligently to bring that work to eventual, you know, clinical use, hopefully, you know, in the next, you know, few years.
That's remarkable. Like, some of the stuff you've done has probably saved so many lives. That must be like a blessing to watch.
Well, I appreciate you saying that. You know, so you asked me at the beginning, you know, what is your passion? Well, you know, my passion is to know that we're doing. So you see, it all fits together. It fits with Aristotle. It fits with this concept of pursuing, you know, happiness. Well, at the end of the day, we all gonna die, right? We all going
Yeah.
to, disappear from this earth. So why are we doing what we're doing? We're doing this because we want to have we want to leave a legacy. What's the legacy? Well, the legacy is that hopefully we helped this society, we've helped this world. And
Yeah.
also in the process, we prepare the next generation of either our own kids or our own students or our own mentees who will take it from there and move it even to,
Yeah.
higher levels. So
Yeah. That's a very you have a very well-rounded life with that philosophy.
thank you, Nick.
Yeah, and it's crazy. Wasn't the IO drill also featured in Grey's Anatomy?
Yes. Actually, it was featured in Grey's Anatomy like 3 or 4 times.
Yeah.
It was featured in ER, the show ER. It was shown on National Geographic, so it was a whole
Cool.
episode on that. Yeah, so
That's awesome. Yeah, because I mean, just having, let's say, like, there's a motorcycle accident on the freeway, guy's in trauma, there's no way to get drugs to his system, but because of that invention, he's saved. And
yeah.
even with the cartilage work you guys have done, have you personally seen like an athlete or someone with like a veteran or someone with joint issues? Have you seen any of them get fully recovered with the synthesized cartilage you guys have created?
Sure. So years ago, we brought to the market the first and only product that allowed one to heal small defects on cartilage, like in athletes, like you said, small defects. And that became a product that was, that is widely used. But what we're doing now, it hasn't been used in human. What we're doing now? Now what we're trying to do is fix large defects, basically an entire surface, if you would, in your knee joint or your hip joint. But like I said, it's going to take a little bit of time before this work, will, reach clinical use.
Yeah, that's crazy. Now, you being an educator and being very involved in the science biomedical community, what's your take on a liberal arts education, like getting a liberal arts major? You've talked about being very well-rounded and philosophical. So with that being said, would you say that if I were to go into the science industry, I should study just science, or I should have some liberal arts education like classics, philosophy, writing, whatever else?
I believe that liberal education is absolutely key. And I'm one of those hardcore scientists and engineers who absolutely believes in the utility, in the beauty, in the necessity of having the humanities, studying the humanities, studying art, studying all of those things. Because I'll tell you, at the end of the day, once you enter the workforce and say you become an engineer, you become a scientist, and you work in that area, you begin to lose a connection to the real world. These concepts of eudaimonia that we're talking about don't come about, in vacuum, right? They came about because I studied that stuff. And I said, this may be the meaning of what it is that I'm doing in my scientific career. I think they're interrelated. Thus, I do believe that studying the humanities and studying the arts in combination with more applied fields is absolutely essential.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time today. Thank you for being on the show. To our viewers, tune into the next episode on the Eureka Next podcast. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Nick. Thank you for having me.
Of course.